LBC, I'm Clive Bull, and the number 0345 6060 973. Now, thanks to Direct Line Landlord Insurance, today we're discussing how to stay on top of the legal aspects of being a landlord. With me to explain more is Kate Faulkner, Managing Director of propertychecklists.co.uk. So, Kate, I mean, there seem to be a lot of relevant laws, so many of them, in fact. We talked about some of them earlier. How do you keep up to date with it all?
It is really difficult, and quite frankly, I have a lot of people that I talk to on a very regular basis. So if you're a landlord, however, this is probably the hottest topic you need to be on top of. You can either let through a letting agent, but let's remember they're not regulated, so please make sure they're NALS, ALA or RICS members of the organisations, because then they're more likely to keep up with the legals. That's really, a lot of people say, what am I paying the agent for? Well, they've got to understand the laws on your behalf. Second thing, if you're not keen on that option, is a lot of local authorities actually run their own landlord accredited schemes, which will help. For example, we have the London Rental Standard you can join, but there are others around the country. And finally, there are some very, very good landlord associations, such as Residential Landlord Association. You can join them, and they'll not only keep you up with the laws, but also they give you a legal helpline, which is pretty impressive. Having said that, you also, if you are in Wales, Northern Ireland or Scotland, have to be registered or licensed as a landlord. And in some areas of England, the local authority will also require you to be licensed. So you need to check that out first as well, because they will want your details of you and the property, and hopefully that's another way of trying to keep up with what's going on.
And how do these new laws come about, in fact?
It's complicated and it takes a long time. So sometimes it might happen in a matter of months, depending on where the law's being slotted into. In other times, it might take years. And what's interesting is that somebody proposes it in Parliament, and then it will, if it's accepted, it goes through into what we call a consultation period. It'll go out to, and landlords can comment on that, or tenants, and indeed the wider industry or anybody else affected would do that. Once that consultation comes through, then it's decided what will the law actually look like. And from there, that wording then gets unbelievably scrutinised. What we have seen, though, is because some of these laws have been rushed through, we almost, what I call accidents. So there was one on where you have to have smoke alarms now in England, and they inserted a phrase that said they must be tested on the day the tenant moves in. Now, that's actually quite a cost and a very specific thing, and probably with hindsight would be better not there, both the tenant and the landlord's sake. But that was one of the things that slipped through the net and kind of at this moment in time can't be undone.
And what are the consequences of not staying on top of the legislation?
In the past, they haven't been much, because I have to say the enforcement on landlords that break the law has been extraordinarily poor. However, the whole remit of that, as far as local authorities, who are the ones that will mostly catch landlords out who are breaking the law, is changing. There are now, from April 2017, local authorities could be charging you up to £30,000 for breaking the law. If you're not checking that a tenant is with you legally, you're talking in the country legally, you're talking £3,000 per tenant. So there are some big hefty fines. And also it is important that the consequences are your tenant could get hurt if you're not keeping up safely, and you could end up in jail and with a big fine. So
yes,
not good news.
Quite serious stuff, really.
Pretty serious stuff.
Where can you go for help if you want to get help with this?
Well, I think we all turn to the internet these days, which is a fine place to go. But I have to say, having spent a lot of time on it, please beware that because the laws on the rental market are changing so thick and fast, there is a huge amount of information that is out of date. So the simplest way is to outsource the responsibility as much as you can to an expert agent. Mentioned before, check they're members of ALA, NALS or RICS and get them to manage your property. Direct Line, in fact, has its own Landlord Knowledge Resource Centre, which it actually keeps it up to date. And in actual fact, I'm a big fan of the .gov site. They provide a huge wealth of information to both landlords and tenants. They keep theirs up to date. And of course, the landlord accreditation schemes and associations we talked about earlier, not only do they keep you up to date, but if they do have a helpline for something like less than £100 a year, you could, if you've got a question, you're not sure, then you can actually just ring in and double check for your circumstances. So my recommendation is you should either be letting through a qualified agent, or you should be a member of an accreditation scheme for landlords or a landlord association. Otherwise, you're going to find it pretty tough and you'll get caught.
OK, Kate, thank you for that. And thanks to Direct Line Landlord Insurance. For more information and for the chance to win a tech bundle, go to lbc.co.uk.